Howdy, welcome to our first virtual talk for Campus Sustainability Month. My name is Danielle LaPerriere. I'm the Sustainability Manager with the Office of Sustainability and Campus Enrichment. It's our fourth of 4 talks put on by our amazing sustainability interns this month. These are all undergraduate students who have been working with our office since the start of the semester, and they've developed these talks on topics that they're curious about and have undertaken the research and prepared today's presentation to share with you what they've learned. Today, you'll be hearing from Julianna and Sritha. Julianna is a second-year student in supply chain management, and Sritha is a first-year student in architecture. Their talk, From Concrete to Canopy, Why Urban Forests Matter to You, asks the question, what if a concrete jungle could breathe? You'll learn more about urban forests and the transition from cityscapes to biodiverse green spaces that provides many benefits to our daily lives. With real-world information and examples, discover how reconnecting cities with nature can shape a better future for everyone. Before I hand it over to them, a few housekeeping notes and some announcements. In this Zoom, you're going to get the best experience if you put yourself into side-by-side mode. I have pinned the 3 speakers, myself, Julianna, and Sritha. If you need a transcript so that you can see subtitles on the screen, you can go ahead and turn those on in Zoom. It is set up to transcribe automatically. And we encourage you to ask questions in the chat, or if you click the Q&A button, either will work, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end. And then the last piece to know is that this session is being recorded. We will put it on our YouTube channel and folks will be able to watch afterwards. Okay, this is also, April is Campus Earth Month, which is one of 2 months in the year where we get to give away really cool prizes. And you can collect code words all month by tuning in to events like this one. Each code word gives you an entry into our random draw giveaway that will occur at the end of the month. For joining us live today, you're actually going to get 5 code words, 1 of which will show up on the screen and 4 of which will get dropped in the chat. If you're joining us on YouTube afterwards, make sure you watch your screen to find your code word. You'll get just 1. Keep track of all of those code words throughout the month and then send us 1 email by April 21st to sustainability@tamu.edu with all of those code words, and we'll get you your entries into the grand prize giveaway. Some of the prizes that we are giving away this semester in that first tier, your choice of a $250 scholarship or maybe a Yeti cooler. Tier 2 prizes that I think are cool, the hammock, and I have a JBL flip speaker at home and I love it. And then tier 3, we have 5 winners in that tier. Stanley Tumbler has been really big for a few years now, but I think the Zero Waste Blue Clean Essentials kit is really neat as well. And then I'm a sucker for a little Patagonia hip bag, so I think that's a cool addition this year. You can also get entries for these prizes if you check us out on social media, join us on Campus Earth Day, or hear about any of our other campus talks. So you can go ahead and get registered for these 3 talks that I'm going to promo here. I'm dropping a URL for all of our Campus Earth Month activities in the chat, as well as specific URLs for these 3 events. So up next, tomorrow, Elene and Isabella are diving deeper into the distinct relationship between gender and sustainability and uncovering how societal norms shape environmental attitudes and behaviors. So join us for Be a Man, Gender's Role in Sustainable Conversations tomorrow at noon. After that, Bilal and Sophia are asking, do you live under a rock? If not, I'm pretty sure you would have heard of sweeping federal job cuts over the past few months. Join them to learn about the academic, social, and economic impacts of these changes and how people are taking action to respond and recover. And who knows, maybe you'll be the next trailblazer in this field. And then finally, we'll close off our Campus Earth Month intern talks with a talk by Kushal and Rebecca. That magic box that is AI seemingly giving you the answers to all of your questions. Like, do you want a recipe for dinner using only items in your pantry? Or are you looking for an activity plan for a weekend in Austin? However, They're asking, have you thought about what goes inside that black box of AI? What types of impacts does your search have? Join them and they'll break down the impacts on AI on the 3 pillars of sustainability: people, planet, and profit, and the role AI could play in creating a sustainable future. If talks aren't your vibe and you want to come out to Campus Earth Day, all of our interns will also have tabling activities, and there'll be other student orgs and campus organizations there with interactive activities, and you can get a lot of code words really fast, and you will also be able to fill out a passport and get a t-shirt at that event. And I heard a rumor that Rev is going to be there at 11. So if you want a photo with Rev, come on out. So that is April 16th in Rudder Plaza, 10 to 1. It's a really fun time. I hope you'll join us. Okay, my final announcement. If you are an undergraduate student at Texas A&M and you think, hey, this internship sounds like fun, I want to be on this screen sharing what I care about on sustainability, consider applying for our internship for fall 2025. We have 8 slots available. All majors are welcome. You have to apply by April 20th, and info is at tex.ag/sustainableapply. This is one of my favorite parts of my job, is getting to interact with these students, and I think I'm a little biased, but I think it's a really great learning experience and a lot of fun and good relationships coming out of them, because I think I see that all of the interns have become really fast friends over the last 3 months. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Julianna and Sritha.
Howdy, I'm Sritha.
Howdy, I'm Julianna.
And today we're going to be talking about going from concrete to canopy, why urban forests matter to you. In this presentation, we'll be going over what urban forests are, some of the different things that make up these spaces, many examples of urban forestry in the real world, and how it affects us.
So when I say the word forest, what comes to mind? Maybe you think of the towering redwoods in California, dense rainforests brimming with wildlife, or even like a remote trail through a quiet woodland. We tend to associate forests with vast, wild, untouched landscapes, placed far removed from highways, buildings, or the daily rhythm of a city life. But what if I told you that forests aren't always distant, that they can be part of our neighborhoods, our commutes, even our backyards? That brings us to a different but equally important kind of forest, the urban forest. So what is an urban forest? Well, the USDA Forest Service defines urban forest as all publicly and privately owned trees within an urban area, including individual trees, street trees, and trees in parks and other natural areas. In this presentation and in other current discussions, we understand the term urban forest more broadly. While the strict USDA definition emphasizes trees, most experts, including urban ecologists and planners, treat urban forest as the entire system of woody and herbaceous vegetation in cities. So that includes everything from the trees lining our streets, to the parks we relax in, to the backyard gardens we plant. These forests span both public and private land, and they're made up of a mix of natural growth and human-planted greenery. They're more than just scenic, they work for us, which we will go into detail during this presentation. In today's rapidly growing cities, these green spaces aren't just optional, they're infrastructure, as important as roads or buildings, only alive. Native plants are the foundation of the urban forest ecosystems. Because they've evolved over thousands of years alongside local wildlife, they fulfill all the conditions local wildlife need to survive. They provide the right types of nectar, fruit, and shelter that birds, insects, and mammals rely on, making them critical for maintaining healthy food webs. They're also naturally adapted to the local soil, rainfall, and climate, so they require less water, less fertilizers, and little maintenance, helping us conserve resources. Their deep root systems help improve soil structure, reduce erosion, and increase underground water storage. And by supporting a wider range of species, from pollinators to predators, they create more diverse and resilient ecosystems. Plus, native plants reflect the cultural and natural identity of a region. They help us stay connected to the land and the history of our communities.
One example of how urban forests can be created is tree canopies. A tree canopy is a layer of tree branches, leaves, and foliage that are placed in an urban setting to benefit the environment in many ways. They're an essential link between the natural and built environments and contribute to the social, economic, and environmental states of a city. Some of the many benefits that the tree canopies have are that they help regulate temperature, air quality, and stormwater drainage by providing shade, absorbing pollutants, and preventing flooding. They also foster biodiversity by providing a new habitat for wildlife. Tree canopies also encourage outdoor activities, and many studies show that having a direct connection to nature positively impacts the mental state and well-being of a population. Finally, tree canopies have an economic impact as they attract businesses and increase property values of this land. As you can tell, tree canopies are a lot more than just a connection of branches and trees. They're an important natural layer that we integrate into our cities and make them healthier, greener, and more livable.
Few more examples of urban forest features that support both people and ecosystems are structures like green roofs, community edible gardens, man-made ponds, car-free zones, walkable trails, and pocket parks. And the best part, these aren't far-off concepts. These are all right here, actually, on A&M's campus. In the top left photo, we have the Leach Teaching Gardens, a perfect example of an educational green space that supports biodiversity and community engagement. Next to it, on the top right, is a living wall near Langford, where vertical planting meets an architectural design, helping to cool buildings and filter the air. On the bottom left, we see the Academic Plaza, which is a shaded and walkable green area right in front of the heart of campus. And finally, the bottom right photo shows a man-made pond in Aggie Park, a newer feature designed not only for beauty and recreation, but also to support water management and urban wildlife. These are all small, intentional design choices that reflect how urban forestry can show up in everyday spaces, even in a university setting. And the code word we're giving you is biodiversity.
Because urban forests are slowly making a bigger impact in the urban landscape, many aspects of our future may look different. From an economic side, in the future, people can be more careful of management of the costs of these parks through repeated monitoring, adaptive management, and economic resources. On a more social side, many communities will be able to get more involved in restoration efforts and working side by side with the government. Environmentally, accommodating for native species in different ways will enhance biodiversity and ecosystem services to flourish. Here are some examples of concept pictures of how urban forests can look in the future. They were created by a team of architects, urban planners, and others in the environmental design industry to predict new trends and prepare for any new innovations in urban forestry.
How does this all affect you? We're going to go into 3 different ways that urban forestry can impact you directly. Urban forests play a powerful role in pollution mitigation, as you have probably figured throughout this conversation. Trees improve air quality in 2 major ways. First, by reducing air temperatures, which slows down the formation of ground-level ozone, a harmful pollutant, and second, by filtering airborne pollutants like nitrogen dioxide and sulfur dioxide and particulate matter through their leaves and bark. Urban forests also tackle climate change at the source. Through photosynthesis, trees sequester carbon dioxide, storing it in their biomass and soils, directly offsetting greenhouse gas emissions. But it's not just about planting trees. Species selection matters. Most species, especially non-natives, some species, especially non-natives, emit high levels of volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, and these gases can react with sunlight and urban pollution like nitrogen oxides from cars to create ground-level ozone, a harmful pollutant. So when we talk about maximizing the benefits of urban forests, species selection is key. Native low-emission trees are better adapted to local conditions, require less maintenance, and help improve air quality instead of accidentally making it worse. A great example of why tree selection really matters is honestly very close by. So I use Houston, Texas as an example, but when starting to talk about this conversation, we can look at these 2 types of trees. Let's start with the eucalyptus tree, which is pictured on the top. It's native to Australia, and while it's drought tolerant and fast growing, it's also very high emission. It also releases high emissions of VOCs, particularly iosprin and monotyprins, which also are known to contribute to ground level ozone when mixed with urban air pollution and sunlight. On the other hand, we have the southern magnolia, pictured on the bottom, a tree that's native to the southeastern U.S., which includes Texas. It's not VOC free, but it emits a moderate level, and it provides real ecological benefits by supporting native pollinators and thriving in the local climate without heavy maintenance. This comparison shows that not all trees are equal when it comes to air quality. Even beautiful or popular trees like the eucalyptus can unintentionally add to pollution, while native species like magnolia, especially combined with other low VOC trees, can be part of a healthier, more balanced urban forest.
Switching from a more environmental lens, urban forests can also affect us on an economic level. They reduce overall daily energy costs and bills as trees provide shade, which regulates the need for air conditioning in the summer. They also act as windbreaks in the winter, which lowers heating costs. This leads to significant savings on electricity and gas bills for both homeowners and businesses. Urban forests also create new jobs in many different sectors of work as people are needed for the maintenance and planning of these spaces. These jobs contribute to the local economy and provide stable incomes for workers in both the public and private sectors. They also give local businesses the chance to grow as they enhance the aesthetic sense of a neighborhood and attract people to restaurants, vendors, and more. The increased foot traffic boosts sales and encourages investment in these local companies and businesses. Finally, they encourage the preservation of land through increased property values. This benefits homeowners by increasing their equity and allowing municipalities to collect higher property taxes, which can be reinvested into public services and infrastructure improvements in the cities. Continuing with the economic impact, a great point of discussion is the economic disparities seen in many spaces around our cities. Historically, we've seen many differences in the way low-income and high-income neighborhoods look like. As you can see, the picture on the left depicts a playground in a low-income community, and the picture on the right depicts a trailer park with many green spaces throughout it. This shows how incorporating urban forestry can bridge the gap between how these spaces look like throughout different economic zones in our cities.
Forests can also heavily impact your personal health. They improve the air quality and regulate temperatures of the local area, topics which tie back into pollution mitigation. This directly improves our personal physical health. But it's not just physical. Urban greenery also supports our mental health. Studies show that people with access to green spaces experience lower stress, better focus, and even reduced rates of depression and anxiety. In fact, according to the USDA Forest Service, people who live near green spaces are 30% less likely to suffer from depression. These green spaces encourage us to get outside and move, whether it's walking, jogging, or just enjoying a stroll. People living near parks are significantly more likely to meet recommended physical activity levels. Finally, tree cover can reduce urban noise by up to 50%, offering a sense of peace and quiet that's often missing in a busy city environment. In short, urban forests aren't just nice to have, they're essential for creating a healthier, happier community.
One notable example of a city that we're familiar with is Austin, Texas, which is considered to have one of the largest urban forests in our country or in the world. One resource that they have is the Urban Forest Plan, which lists out the importance of these spaces to their culture and different initiatives that they have that they would take to maintain them. These tables provide many different topics and areas of Austin where these initiatives are applied, divided by various sectors of daily living and society. For example, their Office of Sustainability covers the urban heat island effect and its purpose to support urban planning and education. Many of these other sectors impact things like regulation, planning, planting, maintenance, and education. Everything listed on this table is a current project that's present in their city and initiatives that they try to apply to make their city a healthier and happier place. Here are some examples of the different initiatives around their city. The tree planting program is a program in which the goal is to increase the canopy cover to cool Austin's neighborhoods. Austin Energy is a program where they prune trees for electric utility line clearance and partner with local nonprofits to plant new ones with the goal of energy conservation in mind. Finally, another example is the Watershed Protection Program, which works to improve the transition zone between water and land along various creeks to control erosion, habitats, and water quality. Some of the biggest examples of these initiatives that you might know around Austin could be Zilker Park, the Barton Creek Greenbelt, and the Festival Beach Food Forest.
So now that you've heard about what urban forests are, how they exist around us, how they affect our environment, economy, and even our own health, the big question becomes, what role do you play in all of this? Because urban forests aren't just something for city planners or environmentalists to think about, they're deeply connected to our neighborhoods, our daily routines, our futures. Whether it's supporting native species, planting a tree, joining a local restoration effort, or even just recognizing those green spaces around you, you are part of the solution. So as I said earlier, these green spaces aren't just optional, they're infrastructure, just as important as roads or buildings, only alive. We hope this discussion has helped you understand the value of these spaces in our cities.
If you have any questions or want to discuss any of the topics we've presented today, please feel free to ask. Thank you so much for listening to our talk.
Thank you. And these are some sources.
Thank you, Shrita and Juliana. We're going to open the floor to questions now. If you have a question, if you could drop it in the chat or in the Q&A box, that would be great. I am actually going to start off the questions with one is, how did trees help, or so Austin's example of using planting of trees with the idea of energy conservation. How can trees impact energy conservation?
You want to take this or should I?
I mean, as we said earlier, trees, first of all, decrease bills and things like that. So they kind of just act as a one of the examples we had was a watershed thing where it decreases flooding and also provides cooler environments, which decreases the amount of air conditioning or heating needed in different spaces. So that's one way that we can conserve energy.
Yeah, 100%. I think the shading that it provides to buildings, especially, is what goes the biggest into energy conservation, as well as whenever you do have shading available for these buildings, you're able to open up the windows, or I guess more popular now in architecture is having gigantic windows in most buildings, so you don't have to have such heavy overhead lighting, which also saves in our energy conservation efforts.
That makes sense. Thanks for sharing. I have dropped the 5 code words, including the one that was on the screen, into the chat for all of you joining us live. Make sure you record those so you can get your prize entries. Question in the chat here. What areas on campus do you personally think could use more urban forestry?
That's a really good question. I don't live on campus, but I think every time I visited the dorms, I felt like it's kind of a less interesting environment to be in just because there isn't that much green spaces like outside the dorms and nearby. So I think somewhere near the dorms just to make living there a nicer space to be in would be really cool.
Personally, I'm on West Campus a lot, which is where the business school is, obviously. And I feel like there are a lot of really cool areas, like the Leach Teaching Gardens and the Ag building over there as well. But if it was more integrated towards the central part of West Campus, I think it'd be really nice. Because they're doing that with Zach, and Zach looks great. And the new building has like little outside areas, which is really cool. But I think it'd be nice to have more on the West Campus.
Okay, the flip side of that question, someone has asked, do you guys have a personal favorite green space, either on campus or where you're from?
I really like the Zach 4th floor, their green floor, their patio. It's really nice, and there's so many plugs everywhere, so that's my personal favorite on campus. And as for home, there was this cafe next to my high school that has a beautiful patio area, and it's like gorgeous, especially in the morning. You hear birds chirping and the sun's rising, and it's like it was just so nice to have. So I still go there on occasion when I'm home in Houston.
I'm an architecture major, as we said earlier, and Langford has a little pocket garden next to it. And that's like one of my favorite spaces to be on campus, just because when I need break from studio or working, I can just go sit outside and just relax for a little. And as far as home, I haven't been to downtown Dallas a lot, but there is a huge garden between all the buildings, which is just a really nice place to drive by or even just sit at, which I think is really nice.
Juliana, Shrita, what was your motivation for doing your presentation or your TED Talk on urban forests?
Well, my personal motivation started with my older sister. She goes to school in DC in her master's program, where she's actually having a project of integrating an urban forest into DC, which is really cool. It's also, I love being outside and working outside, especially since I've come to university. So I think the integration of these spaces are very important.
I took a class last semester on how the environment can improve mental and behavioral health in people. And I just thought it was really interesting to see how we could connect the environment to urban planning and architecture. So when it came to deciding on a topic, this was something that I just felt really passionate about.
Great. Thank you guys so much. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you to everyone who has joined us online, live, or who is joining us after the fact on YouTube. Please remember to submit those code words, and we hope that you'll check out another talk in our series. Have a great day.